Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 25th anniversary edition of SF Indie Fest. I'm Chris Metzler, the director of programming here. If you've ever had a chance to attend SF Indie Fest over the last 25 years, you know we bring some of the more interesting, irreverent, and odd films from around the world. And tonight you had really special opportunity to see Triple Trouble. And we're lucky enough to have a Q&A here with director Homer Flynn and editor David Lawrence. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
Yeah,
Chris.
yeah, nice to be here.
Thanks for
Um,
having us.
oh, absolutely. This is totally the sort of film that SF Indie Fest was made for. So we're glad to stumble upon it and have you guys here. And of course, the Bay Area connections add like another layer of coolness to it all. I assume many in the audience are wondering, like, what was the kind of genesis of the idea for this project, and what was the journey like?
Well, it was a long journey, I'll say that for sure. Um, this actually started in 1972. Um, the Residents, for those that aren't familiar with them, are mainly branded and marketed as a rock group, but they're really more of an art collective. And they really felt like they wanted to be they were kind of multimedia before their time. So in a lot of ways, they always saw the visual aspect of their work as important as the musical. So they started working on this film called Violinist Fats in 1972. They worked on that from 72 to 76, at which point, for various reasons, the project got abandoned, but they had shot a lot of really interesting stuff. So fast forward to 2013, 14, a filmmaker named Don Hardy, who is a well-established documentary filmmaker, made a documentary on the Residents called Theory of Obscurity. And in the process of gathering up all the visual material that he could find to add to his documentary, he became incredibly charmed by the original Violinist Fats material. And that stimulated the Residents to think, well, yeah, this stuff is cool. What can we do with this? And the idea of completing it had long ago been abandoned, but they still like the original idea. So they rewrote the screenplay, taking it from the early 70s context, which was total fantasy, into a more contemporary context, with the whole idea that the protagonist of their film was the son of one of the Residents, who had just inherited a footlocker full of this old videotape. And he became incredibly intrigued by it. And then in that context, realizes that his life, which is in turmoil, is paralleling the life of the protagonist. And that's the jumping off point for that screenplay. It was called Double Trouble. Okay, so we were starting to raise money for that, and then bam, the lockdown hits, and nobody could do anything. And so we had raised a certain amount of money, went back to the Residents and said, hey, yeah, nobody can do anything now. So they went, we can't raise any more money because, of the lockdown. And they went, okay, we'll rewrite it again, and we'll rewrite it as something that can be done for the money that we have. And that then became Triple Trouble.
And in pulling together this film, so David, at what point in time did you get kind of involved in making the film? How much of it was kind of structured versus how much was kind of impromptu editing of kind of figuring out ways to kind of connect the dots?
Right. So the Triple Trouble script had been written. I was invited by the film's legendary producer, Star Sutherland, to be part of the team that would make this new version of the film. So I had worked with the Residents and with Star before on a previous project. It was a 3-song virtual reality EP called Inside a Circle of Dreams. So I had been working with the Residents, and I've known Star for many years. I met him like in the 80s. And so when Star invites me to be on a project, I just say yes automatically, because I know it's going to be a really good time. So I hadn't seen the script. I just knew that the residents were working on a new version of Double Trouble. I'd seen the trailer for Double Trouble. I got the script. I met with Homer. Homer showed me some footage that he had shot using a gimbal camera. And we talked about different ideas about how this new film would come together. And the really interesting thing for me was having to build a world out of all these different kinds of film footage, right? So you have the stuff from the 1970s, the Vileness Fat footage. You have the beautiful footage that Fraser Bradshaw shot, with a red camera. We have stuff from a drone. We have stuff from a gimbal cam. And all this has to come together to build a whole new world. So, working with the script, working with this, we kind of put it all together. And, this is what we came up with. It was really fun.
Bernie, and, what would you say, like, the collaborative process was like with the residents, in the sense that, Homer, were they kind of regularly kind of checking in, or were they kind of more providing notes on, cuts, in the sense that, like, what's the separation between kind of filmmaking team and then, of course, the art collective?
Well, the residents, I see, and I think they agree, the residents really are collaborators by definition. I mean, the residents are an ongoing collaboration, and they love that. So one of the things that they really enjoy doing, there's a quote that I ran into from George Lucas, of all people, several years ago, and what he said was that the most important thing that he had to do, in his job, was pick the right people. And it's like, once you pick the right people, you get out of the way and let them do their job. And that's exactly the way the residents operate. I won't say that they are completely hands off, but they like to draw out the creativity of all of their collaborators, and they do that by opening the doors and say, yeah, come stomping in and show us what you've got.
I love that. Come stomping in. So, when people, like, when the credits roll, whether it be at home or, kind of in a theater, what do you think, what do you individually kind of want folks to kind of take away? And what do you think the kind of residents are hoping to kind of inspire with this story?
Well, for me, what it might inspire, the residents already have another screenplay. I would hope that this would inspire someone to, get involved with us to help finance and produce another film. The next film is called Loveland. It's all about, it's a very, very dark Southern Gothic kind of, I don't know, thriller, I guess, for want of a better word. But what people would take away from it, I don't know. I would just hope that ultimately it would find its audience. It's great to be involved in the festival here. I keep telling people, it's hard as hell to make a movie. It's a million times harder to get anybody to watch it. And when you're coming from a place of being relatively obscure and unknown like the residents, particularly in the film world, it's hard to get people to pay attention to it. So I would hope that it would eventually find its audience, and people would see the residents in a way more as an art collective, and and less as a band.
Well, so that raises another question. As you guys were kind of, exploring ways to kind of how to kind of shape this narrative, were there other kind of films that other musical groups or other art collectives that have been made that kind of either inspired you, or that you just kind of looked at as reference, of like what was going on out there?
Well, I'm a huge Fellini fan. So, but at the same time, I'm also a big film noir fan, and I think I don't know. I would say the film noir side inspired this more than anything else. The whole idea of the protagonist paralleling the path, the life of the thing that he's pursuing, that came from somewhere, but I'm spacing out now. Maybe I'll think of it in a minute. But there was something in that regard that, at least from a writing point of view, really inspired them.
Nice. And as you kind of were digging in through all this footage and things, were there any kind of like interesting challenges that you guys ran across, or any kind of interesting kind of creative aha moments, just given the kind of unique way that this film was made?
Well, just, having to take all of these different formats and then build them into a cohesive world is a challenge. But I think it was something that we were able to figure out, just in terms of how we use the character going backwards and forwards in time. This is actually a pretty heavy special effects film, even though you might not get that feeling. And I think one of the creative decisions that really helped was the decision to make the bulk of it in black and white. And that was decided very early on. And I think, Homer, you said that you can hide a multitude of sins in black and white, which is very true. So we really used that to our advantage. And then, just working with screens, inside screens, there's a lot of really playful things going on that I think we just discovered as we were building the film.
Very cool. Well, thanks again for sharing the film with us at SF Indie Fest. And one of the things I always kind of remind our audiences is that film festivals are kind of like one of the kind of first places where people are able to kind of experience and discover films. And so our job as an audience is to kind of be a kind of a grassroots street team for the kind of filmmakers and artists that share their films with us. So what are ways that folks can kind of either continue to follow the trajectory of the film and the residents themselves, or even just kind of spread the word so that they can tell people in other communities to be on the lookout for it?
Well, the residents website, which is residents.com, and that's RASIDENTS, not ENCE, because it does get confusing at times. But the website is pretty up to date. So anytime you want residents news, you can certainly go there. But then the residents have people working social media for them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And one of the interesting things over the past few years is that the Cryptic Corporation, my official title is president of the Cryptic Corporation. The Cryptic Corporation is the business and PR interface for the residents. Well, Cryptic Corporation, half of it, I own half of it. The other half was bought by two companies, a record label in London called Cherry Red, and then a distributor on the East Coast called MVD. And they have done a fantastic job of re-releasing all of the Residents' back catalog as multi-disc sets. And there's been a great response to that. So definitely things seem to be on the upswing. The Residents will be touring both Europe in late January and February, and then America in March and April. So it's a busy time for them.
And MVD is going to be doing a Blu-ray and DVD release of the film. That will be sometime in the spring. And there will be some fun bonus features for the fans that we think they'll enjoy.
Oh, awesome. Well, folks, so here, this is what you got to do. You got to, you just finished watching the film, go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, tell them you saw this great film, Triple Trouble, and to be on the lookout for it. And then when the Blu-ray hits the stands here in a few months, take a look and, discover some of those Easter eggs and the bonus features they have. Thanks again for sharing the film with us, Homer, David.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys.